take number 12 of what's new at LeadCapture as of July 15th, 2026. Yes, I have screwed this video up over 11 times, and I'm hoping on the 12th time I can get this right. At one point, I had my 2-year-old on the opposite side of the door screaming. You know what? Sometimes life just isn't perfect. Things get in the way. Things happen. Shooting content and videos is actually kind of hard. Maybe I should just quit and have AI do all of this for me. I don't know, but I'm going to keep trying because that's what we have to do when things don't go right. It's not about perfection. And always keep that in mind with your funnels. It's easy to get caught up in all the nuance and all the perfection. But the people who are winning, who I see coming into LeadCapture and just crushing it, I hate that word. I don't know why I even said that. It sounds corny, but are crushing it in terms of their results. They're just moving forward and worrying about perfection as they go. They're not getting caught up. They're not even focused on perfection. Anyway, with all that said, lots of updates to share. I'm John, by the way. If you don't know me, I'm the founder of LeadCapture. And I try to get on these videos to just share these updates. These are not meant to be polished. I'm really not that great at video, and I don't have the time to create super polished videos. I'm trying to share what matters. I'm trying to share value so you can just dive in, see what matters, and jump from section to section to section as you need to. Alternatively, if you don't want to watch me on video, which is completely fine, you can come to leadcapture.io/updates, or just go to leadcapture.io, click founder updates, scroll through the list. But the video will help you because I'm going to show you some things and do and try to provide some insights instead of just talking down a list, because that's not so much fun. Now, all of these updates came directly from all of you, the LeadCapture community, and I'm really grateful for that. The good feedback, the bad feedback, the ideas, the complaints. Some of you have ripped me apart at times, and you know what? That's part of the job. Software development is not easy, especially in this space where things like uptime matter. Like we can't go down. And just like UX, UI, and getting it all right is really challenging, but it's a fun challenge. And all of the feedback continues to make the platform better and better. And it just means we're shipping a platform that's better for everybody while helping separate ourselves from all the generic tools out there that aren't really meant for the type of lead generation and lead capture that you are looking to accomplish. Whatever. Let's just dive into things now. So we have updates for helping you maximize your conversion rates, improve lead quality, and help with the very confusing world of tracking and attribution. We even pushed some new updates to make that easier. Let's dive into our lead qualification updates, because it's like a group of updates that we've made here, like a number of features, again, based on feedback. And I think these can really help in a number of ways. So first, let me just make sure that this isn't something that I shared before, because I'm pretty sure this was all part of this release. So zip code validation, and we have, okay, so imagine you have a funnel like this. Don't worry so much about the actual design and stuff. This is one of my demo funnels. And imagine that you want to, on your contact step, block out all free mail addresses. Maybe there's an email address, like I'll show you some of the examples. Or if you're in B2B, like Gmail, sometimes aren't really that great in B2B and you want to block them out. Or maybe it's a competitor or an IP address. We actually have a whole workflow to block IPs now. I'll show you that in a moment. So let's dive into that. You can now block by domain, email, IP. We even have a global block list, and I'll show you that. And there's really no platform in the world that's approaching it like we're approaching it. Yes, platforms allow you to block free mail addresses, but they don't have global block lists and so on. So if you go to, where is this? It would be probably in lead verification. And if you missed the last update, click fraud detection's a pretty interesting thing to check out. You'll see we have the email block list and IP block list. Now, these, when you flip them on, there's a number of options. So on the email side, you could block free email providers, flip that switch, and then you have a whole list. So you can drill down and get very specific about the free email providers that you want to block. Maybe Gmail's fine. Maybe you're running B2C in, let's say, legal, and you're getting a lot of live.coms that are just like terrible lead quality. Or maybe spammers are tending to use one specific domain, just uncheck it. And then they're going to be blocked at the source. You can also block specific domains. So maybe you want to put competitors in, or maybe there's a domain that you're finding a lot of spam coming from. You can block them. and you can customize the message that shows up. I'll actually turn all this on and I will walk through it. I'll block Gmail. I'm not going to worry about the message that comes up. And you can choose to put this at the form funnel level or run it account wide. If you click manage, you can have an account wide block domain list. You can have an account wide blocked email list, and the list goes on. So before I run through that demo, let's take a look at the next level of this, because this is where things get pretty crazy on the fraud side. So what happens is sometimes people will just get blasted with fraud, and it's coming from a range of IP addresses, and you can usually block them. Now, before today, you'd have to come directly to me and I'd have to do the block server side. It could take a couple of days. Now you could just do it right inside of LeadCapture. We give you that flexibility. So if you want to block a specific IP address, flip this switch on and you can type the IP address in. If you have a range of IP addresses, maybe from even prior campaigns, you can just paste a range in. And then here's where it gets really cool as well. You can choose how you want to handle the block. So you can do your account wide block. And actually, now that I think about it, I don't know what I meant by that. But what I was trying to say is when you add your IP block, it'll just block the form from loading complete. I thought we had flexibility to decide how you would want to handle that, but it's actually just blocking the form completely. And that's ideal, because if someone's on one of these IP addresses, you do not want them submitting your forms. And then taking it a whole nother level, we have a global suppression list. So you can come in here, and on the LeadCapture side, for known bad IP addresses, we're maintaining a global suppression list. Flip that and it will automatically apply the LeadCapture global suppression list, and it will make sure to block really bad IPs that we identify. And then there's this whole workflow here. So let's just make sure all of this is turned on. I'm actually going to leave block IP off, but I'll show you the email one. But one thing I also want to show is, let's say you come in here and you identify that this lead here is a bad lead, and maybe you want to block it outright. Well, you can click here and then you can choose you want to block the IP address or the email address. So there's this whole workflow that you can go through, where as you're identifying bad leads, you can block them right from the UI. And then if you were to click here, there's this whole process you can go through, and then that would allow you to just block as leads come in. So it makes the whole process around blocking leads extremely simple. And before I go into the demo of that, since we're on lead qualification, I also want to show postcode qualification. So this is also another highly requested feature, and there's surprisingly not a lot of platforms that get to this level of sophistication with postcode qualification. So let's say that you are running in a specific region and there's a number of regions that you don't want to accept, and you would just reject those leads if they're not in a postcode region that you serve. Here, you turn on postcode lead qualification, and there's a couple of different things you can do here. First, you can choose codes to block. So if you're in the US, click US preset, and it's going to put in codes like 00, all the ones, and then you can add more in if you're aware of postcodes that you just want to outright block and disqualify. But let's say that there's a range of accepted zip codes or postcodes. In this case, you would just enter them in, you could do 19063, 19064, save it, and then you'll see that it just saved these two codes. And now somebody must be in these two codes or they will not proceed. If you have a massive list, you can actually upload the list, and you just need to upload a CSV file. We'll take that entire list in, and people use that instead of the upload pasted codes list in. And then taking this a step further, you would want to click accept only these codes, but then you have a couple of options as well. You can choose to either reject the postcode right at the step and display a message, or instead of rejecting them, you could route them to another step or a different page. So this is where you could do something like you could route rejected postcodes to a DQ step where your meta and CAPI pixel and CAPI events don't fire. Or if you do reject them on the zip code step, then those events still won't fire. So the thing that a lot of people don't realize here is that postcode qualification is really key if you're focused on geographic targeting, to make sure that you're not feeding bad data back into meta. I've seen situations where people have a very specific region that they're generating leads in, then people from outside of that region get through, and then it trains Meta to send more of those bad leads through, and that impacts CPL and all that type of stuff. So this is a really key feature if you're doing local service lead gen or just have a specific set of regions that you work within. So you could choose, again, how you want to route it. I'm not going to do routing in this case for this demo. And then if you're using our property enrichment feature, and I highly suggest checking that out if you're in real estate or mortgage, or if you're using our Google address feature, you can also run this against those fields as well. So this doesn't apply to just the zip code postcode field. It also works for those full address fields as well. As long as you have a zip code and you flip this switch on, it will work for those fields. Another key feature, this helps with conversion, is we now have predictive, typing. So as someone begins to type in their postcode from either your list or the uploaded CSV, it will begin to automatically fill in the rest of the postcode. This can help with conversion because someone just has to click to select. So you would want to flip this on. The key thing here is you need a data source. That data source would either be the codes that you enter in manually or those that you upload to a CSV. So let's walk through a demo of postcode and the email block, and I'll show you what this looks like. To start, I'm just going to put zip code up here, and you just want to make sure I have all of this. Move to remove OTP. So let's go down to lead verification and get rid of OTP because I don't want this on right now. I don't even think I'll submit this, but from the accepted zip codes, I made it simple. Just 2 zip codes are accepted. So if I type in one of the non-accepted ones first, you can see it's beginning to fill from the data source. Now, if this list were longer, then it would show more than 2, but I only have 2 in the data source. Let's type in 19099. You'll see that did not accept, so it blocked me outright. Now, I could have set the rule to route to a different path or a different step. So you have more flexibility there. But I'll type in 19063, it validated it, okay, on to the next step. We'll continue through. And then let's just go with that green. State. Now let's show the email rejection. So let's say, I believe I set Gmail as the type that we're not going to accept. So let's enter in my personal Gmail. Okay, so you get to watch me screw this up in real time. So I must have not saved something properly with the Gmail setup, block-free email. Let's see here. I see what I did wrong. I unchecked it. The field should all be checked, the ones that you want to block. So if I don't want to block Gmail, then I would uncheck it. So maybe Gmail is like a pretty solid one to let through, but the rest are bad. Then I would just uncheck Gmail. So just to show you here, I moved the contact field up to the top. We're constantly working on so many things that sometimes I even forget how things work. So let's just enter that in. It says, please use your business email address to submit this form. Now, if we were to do an IP-based block, actually, let's just do that. So we'll come in. Let's say, oh, this person's a spammer. And if you're using the phone enrichment, this came back with a score of 30 because of the phone number that I entered in. So let's just block this IP. I'll block my IP. And let's see what happens when we reload the page. There might be caching here. So we're going to go, let's actually go back to the form. Oh, actually, it's not that there's caching, it's that I don't have it turned on. So we're going to go to lead verification, and let's go to IP block. And that added it to the account-wide block. There's the IP that I blocked. So it automatically showed up there. And now, if we go to view the page, notice the form is not even working. So this is a really good way to keep spammers out. Now I'm going to remove that IP address from the block. So let's find where the IP block is. And I'm going to actually just remove this. So it's now off the list. I'm also going to turn this off. And then we'll reload, and there's the form loading back up. And then if we go back here, you can see that this IP is no longer blocked. Actually, it is showing as blocked, but I'll just click unblock. So that's how you block IPs, that's how you block emails, and that's how you do some really cool postcode validation. Okay, now let's just start walking through the rest of this list here. Oh, and by the way, that's Madeline. She's the 2-year-old. She's crazy. All right, so let's go through some of these updates. So on the tracking and attribution side, custom data attributes. I'll show you how to add these. So basically, you can add data attributes to nearly any part of the form or page or funnel steps, and you can push those attributes into the data layer. You can then pick them up from Tag Manager, or if you're using another tool that's like an alternative to Tag Manager, you can still get those events. And this is really key if you're looking to run serious analytics on stuff like when does a validation message trigger? Like if someone enters the wrong thing, and what does that say? I'll show you this in a moment. I also want to cover that we have an update for Google Tag Manager and passing events to Tag Manager. And we also pushed our first API, the LeadCapture Data API. I'll talk a little bit about that. And let's dive into some of these updates here. I have way too many screens open, so we're just going to get rid of them. Okay, so let's go to this demo form. So first, for custom data attributes, how to add them. If you go into a step, make sure you're in the settings content side. So like you click on pencil, settings content side, go all the way down. You're going to see a number of options here. You can update step IDs, classes, and data attributes. You can update for the headline. You can add a data attribute to the headline to push this info to the data layer. You can do for subheadline and submit button. So if you want to fire something to the data layer for the submit button, you can update your custom ID, custom classes to add data attributes. You click it, and then you can add both the, you can update these fields here, and you can add as many as you want. You can also add data attributes if you go to settings to the form level, and you can add data attributes for like the form name, and you can do a whole bunch there. And then if you're running an A/B test, you can add data attributes to distinguish between the variant and control that you're testing. So that's data attributes, a bit complex, but if you need to do complex attribution and tracking and getting the data into the data layer to be accessed by different tools, these features are invaluable. And I think LeadCapture is one of the few tools that probably exposes this level of granularity when it comes to these things. Now, to touch on Tag Manager, a lot of you use Tag Manager and you need to push your events into the data layer for Tag Manager to access. Well, there's a new toggle here. If you go down to Google Tag Manager, you can include step responses in events, basically meaning that it adds all the responses. So the steps and the responses on each step completion. So they go through step 1, it gets pushed to the data layer. Step 2, pushed to the data layer. And then you can use GTM and GA to see how prospects are responding to questions. And you can see the exact values, not just how far they got. So if you think about what we provide within LeadCapture, we give you step-based metrics. So if you come in here to the analytics, there's your step-based metrics. But if you need to go a level deeper and see what they're actually saying, and then push that into different tools for analysis, you have all that information at your fingertips. Combine that with everything you can do now with AI and Claude, the sky's the limit in terms of custom reporting and analysis you can do. Speaking of reporting and analysis, probably a bit more technical, but we do have a developer, we do have a, we call this the data, got a little bit lost. So we have the data API right here. And this basically allows you to, instead of pushing leads, you can pull leads at a frequency that works for you. There's all different reasons for why you would want to use a data API. For example, if you're pushing data into a tool like a Snowflake or into a data warehouse, or if you need to pull all leads for compliance reasons, then you would need something like a data API to do that. So we have that. It's only available upon request right now. And it and just reach out if this is something you're interested in getting set up. Let's take a look at some of the other updates as well. Google Ads server-side integration and enhanced conversions. So we made some updates here to help with tracking and attribution on the Google side. So if you come into LeadCapture, first, well, let's go to a funnel here. We're going to go into this funnel and we'll go to tracking and attribution. And here is Google Ads server side. So you're going to see this Google Ads server side. And basically what this means is that if you see me pausing a little bit, going back and forth, it's because I'm currently recovering from a really bad cold. So I'm coughing a lot. Don't want to cough into the microphone. Anyway, if you enable Google Ads server side, it's going to push the events server side into Google Ads. This is probably the thing that's most like CAPI on the meta side. And it might be the most reliable way to push data into Google Ads. You can, of course, use the recommended way of GA4. So it's GA4. You push to GA4, you import a conversion event into Google Ads, and then you can toggle an enhanced conversion, and that will send the values to Google in hashed format. That helps with tracking and attribution as well. But if you're using the Google Ads server side integration, you can push all of your lead information to server side, which should help with accuracy and tracking, just like CAPI. So that feature is now live, and we're just waiting for Google to approve it, but you can start using it. And then in addition to tracking and attribution, while we're here, we also have an OpenAI pixel. So if you're planning to run ChatGPT ads, I personally have had mixed results in B2B at least. You can now add your OpenAI pixel and then assign events. I have a whole training video on that. You can find that on YouTube. I believe we have that in the documentation. Going back to some updates here. If you are running an Everflow setup, you can use our Everflow integration. This makes it way easier to now post events back to Everflow when your affiliates are driving in traffic. So the Everflow integration can be found in tracking and attribution. The setup is super simple. Flip this switch here and choose your parameter. This depends on whatever shows up in the UTM. So if it is transaction ID, just type in transaction _ ID. If it's something like sub ID 1, type in sub ID 1. It needs to be whatever shows up in the URL parameter at the time that they hit your page. This will capture the value and will be sent into two places. First, the data layer for Google Tag Manager. Second, it can be mapped to webhook, to integrations, and so on. So again, this is huge if you're using the Everflow affiliate tracking network, whatever you would call it. Just flip that switch and that's how you get that set up. No UTMs, no additional things to have to deal with on that side. One note there is you do have to come in to your account level integrations, and you'll just have to add, you'll just have to configure and get your account all connected. So so we went through zip code. If you are generating partial leads, like if you're using drop-off mode and you only want to get partial OTP leads, that's now possible. We have a ping post support system. I'm not going to go into this right now, but if you're looking to do things like ping a system, get some sort of value or response back before proceeding, we have the infrastructure built now to support that. The challenge with ping post is there's a lot of different use cases and integrations. And the current use case we've built around is TCPA dynamic consent with just one integration. But TCPA dynamic consent, where you basically pull a buyer's name into the consent section, that could span like a number of different integrations. So if this is something you need, reach out to us and we can help you with getting this set up. We've enhanced our dynamic redirects. So if you are using a tool like LeadProsper, or if you're webhooking into a system and want to dynamically redirect, there's a number of updates that we've made. First, you can switch on a loading spinner to actually show a visual feedback loop to the person when they're waiting for the redirect to happen. Second, you can set a custom timeout. So let's say it takes longer than, 5 seconds. You can then display a message or route them somewhere. You can route them in a different direction. Third, you can choose different types of routing for your dynamic redirects. I'll have a video on all of this another time, but this just got a major upgrade in terms of capabilities. You can now redirect to an external URL from a specific response or set of responses. So for example, let's say you are inside of a LeadCapture page here, and you are setting up some flow logic, maybe like on the what happened step. We'll go back in here. Let's click on add rule. Based on whatever happens, like if what happened is equal to, or when it happened, I can't read, is equal to within the last 30 days, you can choose to go to an external URL instead of another funnel or another funnel step. So that's just a slight update that a handful of people needed, so we made sure to get that pushed. You can now, and it's surprising that we couldn't do this, that actually surprised me, adjust button and field sizes. So if you want your buttons to be larger or your fields to be larger, previously that wasn't possible. Big miss in my opinion, so we got that fixed. So to adjust your button and field sizes, go to, let's say, options buttons here. You need to be in global settings. I know I'm going kind of fast, but we have tutorials and stuff on this. Go to global settings form and go on down to wherever you see, where is this? Height. And we have some preset options, or you could choose your own. 99 is way too big, but I'm sure you can. And then same thing for field. So you can now make any field value much larger. So you can see here, this postcode field's actually kind of a decent size. But let's say I wanted to make it like 50. I don't know what this will look like. That go. So back to form, that would be input fields. And then we're just looking for custom height. So we'll just like play with these and you can see that changes it. I put it on extra large. We added the ability to add button helper text to your buttons. So let's say you have an option button that says like, you may have a case, let's connect. Nope, not that one. That says something like, I know we have an example somewhere in here. All right, well, let's just go with when did the accident happen? So first of all, let's fix these button sizes because I must have left them on the previous size. So option button, and then we're going to go down to height and change that and just keep it like that. So maybe you want some text to explain something like in the last 30 days. You can come in here to your form, and in option button, you are going to choose an option here that says, I actually screwed up. So you would go into the response, maybe for within the last 30 days, you want to explain something. So this is some extra text, and now you can add extra context around your option buttons. Just another UX improvement and something you could test out. And then let's go into what else? Custom icon upload. So you can now upload custom icons to buttons. For example, when you go to upload an icon, maybe instead of these calendars here, you want to add in your own icons. You have these choices, and then you can upload your own icon. And then you can even choose positioning. So how you want the icon positioned. Restart form button. So at the end of the form, you can now restart it. You can add a button to restart the form. We have star rating and NPS logic. Not really looking to get into the whole NPS game, but we did add in star ratings in case anybody needs them. There were a couple of use cases we built this around. So if you click add field, you're now going to see, I believe we call this review. Let's see here. What do we call this? Oh, we call it rating. So it added the stars. You can customize these. You can even do conditional logic. For example, if someone chooses 5 stars, you can send them one way. If they choose less than 3, you can send them another way. So that is now a feature in the system. And embedding, let's talk about this. So we have a new embed option. Let's say that you want to embed the full funnel. So currently you can only embed the form part. So everything you see right here where it says form, your options are you can host the entire page on LeadCapture, or you could take just the form and embed it into your own page or landing page and so on. But let's say you want to embed everything above and below on a different page for some reason. Sometimes this is a question that comes up. Now that's possible. There's a third embed option. So if you go to publish, here's where you connect the landing page. If you want LeadCapture to host it, If you just want to embed the form, here's where you copy to embed the form into another page. If you want to embed the full funnel, grab this and it's going to embed everything you see on this page. So just keep that in mind in case you have a use case around that. Let's talk about custom 404 pages before we wrap this up. So if you're hosting LeadCapture on your own domain, unfortunately, I don't seem to have a domain connected to this one, so I don't know if I have a good way to show this, but you can now have custom 404 pages that route to a different funnel or a different page instead of it being the generic 404 page that all LeadCapture users see here. Finally, we've been continuing to work on improvements with Copilot. Two things to note here. We have switched to a model where you get unlimited Copilot generations. Originally, we were restricting that among all accounts. Now all accounts have unlimited token usage for Copilot. Feel like that kind of makes things simple. There's no additional costs for that. And we just granted that right across the entire platform. So there's no limits there. We also provided unlimited insights on this version of Copilot. We'll scan through your account. It could provide feedback on performance and all of that. We've originally gating that to specific plan levels, but we made all of that free as well. Just felt like that's something that should be free. So Copilot is now actually just completely free to use. So wanted to note that. And we've also been working on improving Copilot because sometimes it hallucinates and comes up with its own things. And we're constantly training it. It's a constant work in progress. And a few of you have provided some feedback on that. And we're continuing to try to improve that. So now if you have conversations with it, and if you want to know like where to find something, I'm trying to make it so Copilot is more explicit on exactly what steps you need to take. This is an ongoing thing to continue to improve Copilot. And I think it's getting better and better. And over time, just wait till you see what we have planned. I'm not going to go into the whole thing now because this video is long enough. So we're at like the 31-minute mark. There's more I could have went through here, but at a high level, I think we covered most of it. I would say when you have a chance, come through, look at the founder updates. And if you have questions, reach out and stay tuned for the next batch of updates because we've got some interesting, cool things coming down the pipeline. Thanks.